Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining the NABOR Consulting GovCon training program, Winning Federal Contracts. My name is Sammy, and I am a GovCon advisor with NABOR Consulting LLC. Over the next several hours, we are going to walk you through everything you need to know to compete for and win federal government contracts, from the very basics of how the government buys, all the way to building a scalable contracting business. Let me give you a quick overview of what we will cover today. We have 7 modules. Module 1 covers GovCon foundations, understanding how the federal marketplace works at a structural level. Module 2 walks you through setting up your SAM, Gov registration, which is your legal identity in the federal space. Module 3 is all about finding the right opportunities. Module 4 covers sources sought, one of the most underutilized tools in government contracting. Module 5 dives into capture strategy, how you position to win before the RFP even drops. Module 6 covers proposal basics, how to write winning proposals. And Module 7 brings it all together with a scalable operating system for your GovCon business. This course is designed for small and mid-sized business owners, business development professionals, and anyone who wants to break into federal contracting or dramatically improve their win rate. Whether you have 0 federal contracts or a growing pipeline, there is something in every module for you. One important mindset shift before we begin: federal contracting is not just about paperwork. It is a strategic business discipline. The companies that win consistently are not the biggest or the cheapest. They are the best prepared and the most strategic. That is exactly what this course will teach you to be. Let us get started. Before we dive into content, let me take a moment to introduce NABOR Consulting and explain why we are uniquely qualified to guide you on this journey. NABOR Consulting LLC was founded on a simple mission: to democratize access to federal contracts for small and mid-sized businesses. For too long, government contracting has been dominated by large firms with deep pockets and established relationships. Our goal is to level the playing field by equipping smaller businesses with the knowledge, strategy, and tools that the big players use every day. Look at the statistics on the right side of this slide. The U.S. federal government spends over $700 billion annually on contracts. Congress has mandated that 23% of all federal prime contract dollars go to small businesses. That is over $160 billion per year reserved, to varying degrees, for firms like yours. There are more than 500,000 vendors registered in SAM.gov right now, but the vast majority are passive. They registered and then waited for the phone to ring. This course will show you how to be active and strategic. Our team at NABOR Consulting brings decades of combined experience across federal acquisitions, proposal management, capture strategy, and contract performance. We have worked with agencies ranging from the Department of Defense to the Small Business Administration, and we have helped companies win their first contracts, break into new agencies, and scale from hundreds of thousands of dollars to tens of millions in annual federal revenue. Everything in this course is battle-tested. Every framework, every tool, every example comes from real-world GovCon experience. Let us make the most of our time together. Let us walk through the course structure so you know exactly what is ahead and how each module builds on the previous one. Think of these 7 modules as a sequential journey. They are designed to be taken in order because each module assumes the knowledge built in the one before it. That said, if you are already registered in SAM.gov and have some contracting experience, feel free to move more quickly through the earlier modules and spend more time on modules 5 and 6, which are where most businesses find the most room for improvement. Module 1, GovCon Foundations, is about understanding the system before you try to work within it. Many small businesses jump straight to searching for opportunities without understanding how the government buys, who makes decisions, or why their approach is not getting results. This module fixes that. Module 2, SAM. Gov setup is often underestimated. Getting registered is not just about filing a form. It is about establishing your identity, selecting the right classifications, and positioning your profile so that agencies and prime contractors can actually find you. Modules 3 and 4, Opportunity Search and Sources Sought, focus on finding and influencing opportunities before they become competitive solicitations. This is where sophisticated contractors separate themselves from the pack. Module 5, Capture Strategy, teaches you to make winning decisions about which opportunities to pursue and how to position to win them. This is the most strategic module in the course. Module 6, Proposal Basics, teaches you the fundamentals of writing winning proposals that score well with evaluators. And Module 7, Scaling and Systems, brings everything together into a repeatable, sustainable operating model. Each module includes a worksheet. Please take those seriously. The real value is in applying what you learn to your specific situation. Welcome to Module 1, GovCon Foundations. Before you can win in any game, you need to understand the rules. The federal contracting marketplace has specific rules, structures, and rhythms that are unlike any commercial market you have worked in before. In this module, we are going to lay the groundwork that everything else in this course is built upon. Here is the core insight I want you to take from this module. The federal government is the world's largest buyer of goods and services, but it does not buy the way a commercial customer does. There is no sales call, no handshake deal, no informal agreement. Every purchase is governed by regulations, formal processes, and documented decision criteria. That sounds restrictive, and in some ways it is, but it also means the system is transparent and predictable once you understand it. The learning objectives for this module are understanding how the federal marketplace operates, identifying the 3 key stakeholders in every procurement, mapping the 5-stage acquisition lifecycle, navigating the key parts of the federal acquisition regulation, and recognizing the set-aside programs that give your small business a competitive edge. By the end of this module, you will have the foundational knowledge to make smart strategic decisions about how, where, and when to pursue federal opportunities. Let us dive in. Let us start with the big picture. The United States federal government spends over $700 billion annually on contracts for goods and services. To put that in perspective, that is more than the entire GDP of many developed countries. It is an enormous market, and it is largely open to small businesses if you know how to access it. Look at the top agencies by contract spend. The Department of Defense accounts for the largest share, roughly $390 billion, or more than 55% of all federal contract dollars. But notice that civilian agencies like the Department of Energy, HHS, NASA, and VA represent hundreds of billions more. In fact, civilian agency spending has been growing faster than DoD spending in recent years, which means there are more diverse opportunities across more mission areas than ever before. One critical insight from the bar chart: do not make the mistake of only chasing DoD contracts because they are the biggest. Many small businesses actually have better success rates with civilian agencies because the competition is different and the relationship building is often more accessible. Now look at the key insights panel on the right. Pay attention to the fiscal year note. The federal government's fiscal year runs from October 1st to September 30th. This is critically important. In Q4, July through September, agencies race to spend their remaining budget before it expires. This creates a significant surge in procurement activity. If you're ready and registered, Q4 is often your best window for winning smaller, quick turnaround contracts. The 23% small business goal is also meaningful. Congress mandates that agencies report their small business award percentages. Contracting officers feel real pressure to hit these numbers. That means your small business status is not just a label, it is a door opener. One of the biggest mistakes new GovCon companies make is treating all federal contacts the same way. The reality is that there are 3 distinct stakeholders in every federal procurement, and each one has completely different concerns, motivations, and communication preferences. Understanding these distinctions is one of the highest leverage things you can learn. Let us start with the contracting officer, or CO. The CO is the only person who can legally execute a contract. They are the one who signs the award document. Their world is about compliance. They live in the federal acquisition regulation. They are accountable for making sure the procurement is legal, documented, and defensible. When you are communicating with the CO, your job is to make their life easier. Show them that you understand the rules, that you can be compliant, and that you will not create problems for their office. Do not try to influence them informally. That can be seen as an ethics violation. Everything goes through official channels. The program manager, or PM, is your most important strategic ally. The PM owns the mission and the budget. They are the ones who define what the agency actually needs and who will benefit most if a contract performs well. Before an RFP is ever released, the PM is the one writing the requirements, setting the evaluation criteria, and deciding whether to use a set-aside. This is why we emphasize pre-solicitation engagement so heavily. If you can get a meeting with the PM 6 to 12 months before an RFP drops, you can shape what goes in that RFP. That is a profound competitive advantage. The end user and contracting officer's representative, or core, is the person who lives with your performance every day. They evaluate the quality of your work and assign your CPARS rating, the past performance scorecard that follows you from contract to contract. Keeping the end user genuinely happy is not just good service, it is a strategic business investment. This slide may be the single most important concept in the entire course. Look at these 5 stages. I want you to be honest with yourself right now. At which stage do you typically engage? If your answer is stage 2 or stage 3, solicitation or evaluation, you are already behind. At that point, the requirements have been written, the evaluation criteria have been set, the incumbent has been entrenching their relationship for months, and competitors have been preparing. You are playing catch-up from the moment you open the solicitation. Winning contractors engage at stage 1. The pre-solicitation phase is where influence happens, where relationships are built, and where the most impactful positioning work takes place. Here's how each stage works in practice. Stage 1, pre-solicitation, is where agencies conduct market research. They issue sources sought notices, hold industry days, and meet with potential vendors. This is your window to be known before the competition begins. Stage 2, solicitation, is when the formal RFP is published on SAM.gov. This is the starting gun for most contractors, but you should have started your race weeks or months earlier. Stage 3, evaluation, is when the government's evaluators score proposals. This is a black box. You cannot do anything here except wait. Everything that matters happened before this point. Stage 4, award, is the contract execution decision. Unsuccessful offerers can request a debriefing to understand why they lost. Always request a debrief. The feedback is invaluable for future proposals. Stage 5, post-award, is your time to deliver exceptional performance, build your CPARS rating, and plant seeds for the recompete. Take a moment to note the expert tip at the bottom of this slide. 6 to 12 months before a solicitation drops is when you should be engaging the agency. The contract is often decided informally long before the formal process begins. The Federal Acquisition Regulation, commonly called the FAR, is the primary rulebook governing all federal procurement. It is an enormous document, and I am not going to ask you to read it from cover to cover. What I want you to do is understand which parts of the FAR matter most to small businesses and why. Let me walk you through the key parts in this table. Part 5 governs how agencies publicize contract opportunities. This is the foundation of SAM.gov, the requirement that most contracts above $25,000 must be posted publicly. This is your source for finding opportunities. Part 6 governs competition requirements. This is the part that defines when full and open competition is required versus when set-asides are appropriate. Understanding Part 6 helps you understand when your small business status gives you an exclusive lane. Part 10 is one of the most important for our purposes. It governs market research. This part legally requires agencies to conduct market research before issuing solicitations. Sources sought notices exist because of Part 10. This is the legal foundation of your pre-solicitation engagement strategy. Part 13 covers simplified acquisition procedures, which apply to contracts under $250,000. SAP contracts move faster, require less documentation, and attract fewer large competitors. For a new contractor, this is often the best place to start building your past performance record. Part 15 governs negotiated procurement, the full RFP process for larger, more complex contracts. This is the framework for most competitive proposal submissions. And Part 19 is perhaps the most important for small businesses. This is a section that establishes all small business programs, 8A, SDVOSB, HubZone, WOSB, and the General Small Business Set-Aside. Understand Part 19 deeply. It is the source of your competitive advantage. I want to spend a few minutes on set-aside programs because they represent one of the most powerful advantages available to small businesses in the federal marketplace. If you qualify for any of these programs, they should be a core part of your go-to-market strategy. Set-aside contracts are reserved exclusively for businesses that meet specific eligibility criteria. This means that large defense contractors like Lockheed Martin, Booz Allen Hamilton, or SAIC cannot compete for these contracts at the prime level. You are competing only against businesses similar in size and certification status to yours. That changes the competitive dynamics dramatically. Look at the pie chart. Of all small business set-aside awards, the general small business set-aside accounts for the largest share, but the specialty programs, 8A, SDVOSB, HubZone, and WOSB, each carve out additional exclusive lanes. If you qualify for one of these, your competition shrinks even further. The 8A Business Development Program is managed by the Small Business Administration. To qualify, the business must be at least 51% owned by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. The program offers significant advantages, including sole source contracts up to $4 million for services and $6.5 million for manufacturing. The application process takes time but is worth pursuing if you are eligible. SDVOSB, Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business, is for businesses majority owned by service-disabled veterans. The VA has mandatory goals for SDVOSB contracting, and many other agencies actively seek SDVOSB firms. HubZone certification applies to businesses in historically underutilized business zones. If your principal office is in a qualifying area, you receive a 10% price evaluation preference in full and open competitions. Essentially, you can win even if you are not the lowest bidder. My pro tip: investigate all programs for which you might qualify. Stacking certifications expands your competitive pools significantly. Let me bring all of Module 1 to life with a real-world case study. This is the story of ClearPath IT Solutions, a composite example based on multiple real companies we have worked with at Nabor Consulting. ClearPath started with 12 employees and $2.1 million in commercial IT revenue. They had never won a federal contract. Their founder was a service-disabled veteran who had been told by multiple people that government contracting was too complicated and too expensive to break into without a large business development team. We are going to show you exactly how they proved that wrong. Step 1. They registered in SAM.gov and obtained their SDVOSB certification through the SBA. This took about 3 weeks. They selected NAICS codes 541512, 541513, and 541519 to align with their IT managed services capabilities. This was not random. They researched which codes DLA, the Defense Logistics Agency, most frequently used for similar contracts. Step 2. Once registered, they set up daily email alerts on SAM.gov for their NAICS codes at DoD agencies with contract values under $500,000. This took 20 minutes to set up and runs automatically every morning. Within the first week, they spotted a DLA sources sought notice for IT help desk support. Step 3. They responded to the sources sought with a focused 3-page capability statement. They highlighted their IT work for commercial clients as evidence of capability, even though none of it was federal. They also mentioned a small subcontract they had performed on a DoD prime contractors project. That response was read by the DLA contracting team. Step 4. When the RFP was eventually posted, it was designated as an SDVOSB Set A side, in large part because ClearPath's response demonstrated market capability. They submitted a strong technical proposal and won a $180,000 IDIQ task order. Their key parts rating was outstanding. That one contract became the foundation of everything that followed. The lessons here are simple. Certifications matter, pre-solicitation engagement matters, and even small targeted past performance beats no past performance every time. Now it is time to put what you have learned into practice. This worksheet has 3 exercises, and I strongly encourage you to complete all of them before moving to Module 2. Exercise 1 asks you to map the key stakeholders for a specific federal opportunity you are considering or have considered. Who is the contracting officer in that office? What do they care about most? How are you going to engage them formally through official channels? Who is the program manager? Have you had any contact with them? What is their mission and what keeps them up at night? And who is the end user, the core, or the operational staff who will use your services daily? If you cannot answer these questions for a specific opportunity, you have homework to do. Go to SAM.gov, find a contracting office in your target agency, and research who holds which roles. LinkedIn, agency websites, and GovCon are all good sources. Exercise 2 asks you to honestly assess your set-aside eligibility. Work through each program. Do you qualify as a small business under your primary NAICS code? Visit SBA.gov and confirm the size standard. Are you a veteran? Is your business majority owned by a service-disabled veteran? Is your principal office in a hub zone? These questions have specific, verifiable answers. Exercise 3 asks you to confront where you actually engage in the acquisition lifecycle versus where you should engage. Mark every stage where you have historically entered the process. Then, identify one specific action you will take this week to move your engagement earlier, ideally to the pre-solicitation phase. Take 15 minutes right now to complete this worksheet. It will make Module 2 more targeted and actionable for you. Welcome to Module 2 SAM.gov Setup. If Module 1 was about understanding the playing field, Module 2 is about getting your jersey and showing up on the field. Without an active optimized SAM.gov registration, you literally cannot receive a federal contract. You cannot be paid. You are invisible to the agencies and prime contractors who are actively looking for vendors like you. I want to make something very clear before we go further. SAM.gov registration is not a one-time task. It requires annual renewal. It requires accuracy. And a poorly configured profile does not just fail to help you, It can actively hurt you by making you invisible in agency searches or by creating compliance problems that emerge during contract negotiations. In this module, we will cover the purpose and importance of SAM.gov, a step-by-step walkthrough of the registration process, strategic NAICS code selection, the critical representations and certification section, and how to optimize your profile so that agencies and prime contractors actually find you. By the end of this module, you will have a clear action plan for completing or improving your SAM.gov registration. Let us get into it. SAM.gov, the System for Award Management, is the official federal government database for all entities seeking to do business with the government. It replaced a fragmented system that used to include separate databases for contractor registration, exclusions, and solicitations. Today, SAM.gov is the single authoritative source for all of that information. Let me walk through the 6 key aspects of SAM.gov shown on this slide. First, it is your official registration. The moment you complete your SAM.gov registration and receive an active status, you become a visible participant in the federal marketplace. Agencies, prime contractors, and grant agencies can all search for and verify your registration. Second, the Unique Entity Identifier, or UEI. In 2022, the federal government transitioned from the DUNS number system to the UEI, which is now issued directly through SAM.gov. Your UEI is your permanent federal business identifier. It appears on every proposal, every invoice, and every contract you submit. Guard it carefully. Third, and this cannot be overstated, only entities with active SAM.gov registration can receive federal contract awards. If your registration lapses for even one day, payments on active contracts can be delayed. I have seen companies lose contract awards because their registration expired during final negotiations. Fourth, SAM.gov is your visibility tool. Contracting officers and prime contractors search SAM.gov for qualified vendors. Your profile narrative, capability statement, and NAICS codes all affect whether you appear in those searches. Fifth, allow 5 to 7 business days for initial registration. This means you cannot register on Monday and expect to bid on a Friday deadline. Plan ahead. Sixth, set your calendar reminder for 60 and 30 days before your annual expiration. The consequence of forgetting is severe. You cannot receive payments. I will say it again, set that reminder today. Let me walk you through the SAM.gov registration process step by step. This looks like a browser mockup, and that is intentional. I want you to see this as a practical, hands-on process, not a theoretical exercise. Step 1 is obtaining your unique entity identifier. You navigate to SAM.gov, click register, and begin the entity registration process. The first critical action is entering your legal business name exactly as it appears in IRS records. I cannot emphasize this enough. Even a minor discrepancy, like LLC versus LLC, can cause a validation failure that adds days to your timeline. Step 2 is entity validation. The IRS must validate that your employer identification number matches your business name. This process typically takes 1 to 3 business days. There is nothing you can do to speed it up. If it fails, you will receive an email explaining why, and you will need to correct the discrepancy. Step 3 is completing your profile. This is where you select your NAICS codes, enter your business size, provide your physical and mailing addresses, and designate points of contact. You will also write a brief capability narrative, up to 250 words, that appears in agency vendor searches. Step 4 is representations and certifications. This is a legal certification section. You are making sworn declarations about your business. We will cover this in detail in the next slide, but understand that errors here can lead to contract disqualification or even legal action. Step 5 is entering your electronic funds transfer banking information. This is how the government pays you. Double and triple check your routing number and account number. A transposition error in your bank account number means your payments go somewhere else, and recovering then takes weeks. Step 6, submit and wait. Active status typically takes 3 to 5 business days after submission. Monitor your email closely for any validation requests. NAICS codes, North American Industry Classification System codes, are how the federal government categorizes your business and how you get matched to relevant contract opportunities. Choosing the right code strategically is one of the highest leverage decisions you will make in your SAM.gov setup. Here is why this matters so much. When a contracting officer sets up a SAM.gov alert for their source of sought notice, they specify a NAICS code. If you do not have that code in your SAM.gov profile, you will not receive the notification. If you do not have the right code when an agency searches for vendors, you will not appear in their results. Let me walk you through the 4 rules shown on this slide. Rule 1. Your primary NAICS code should reflect your core business activity. This is the code the SBA uses to determine your small business size standard, so choose carefully. The size standard threshold, whether based on revenue or employee count, varies significantly by NAICS code. Rule 2. Add all relevant secondary codes. SAM.gov allows you to list multiple NAICS codes. Be comprehensive but honest. Adding a code for a service you cannot actually deliver is a certification risk and a customer service problem. Rule 3. Verify the SBA size standard for each code you select. Go to SBA.gov/size standards and look up each code. Understanding whether you qualify as small for a given NAICS code is essential before you bid on a set-aside contract under that code. Rule 4. Research actual procurement activity before committing to your code list. Use USA spending. Gov to see how many contracts have been awarded under each of your target NAICS codes, which agencies are buying, and what the typical award values are. This research takes an hour but will save you years of chasing the wrong opportunities. The table on the right shows sample NAICS codes with their size standards. These are illustrative. Always verify current standards at SPA.gov. The Representations and Certifications section of SAM.gov is one of the most important and most frequently misunderstood parts of the registration process. Let me be very direct. These are legal declarations. When you certify something in this section, you are making a sworn statement to the federal government. Errors, omissions, or deliberate misrepresentations can result in contract termination, monetary fines, and in serious cases, criminal prosecution under the False Claims Act. Let me walk through the 6 key certification areas shown on this slide. Business size certification is your declaration that you meet the SBA size standard for your primary NAICS code. Size standards change periodically, so verify them annually when you renew your registration. The debarment and suspension certification is critical. You are certifying that you, your key personnel, and your owners have not been debarred, suspended, or proposed for debarment from federal contracting. If anyone in your organization has a debarment history, you must address this before registering. Socioeconomic certifications include 8A, C, VOSB, HubZone, and WOSB. Here is the important nuance. Some programs allow self-certification in SAM.gov, while others require formal SBA certification first. SDVOSB now requires SBA certification before you can self-certify in SAM.gov. 8. A requires a separate SBA application. HubZone requires formal SBA certification. WOSB requires either self-certification with supporting documentation or third-party certification. The lobbying certification under FAR 52.203-11 is required for contracts over $100,000. You are certifying that you have not used or will not use federal funds for lobbying activities. Take your time with this section. Read each certification carefully. When in doubt, consult a procurement attorney before certifying. Your SAM.gov registration is not complete when it is merely active. It is complete when it is optimized. There is a significant difference between an active registration and a competitive one, and the difference can be worth millions of dollars in contract opportunities. Think about SAM.gov from the buyer's perspective. A contracting officer who needs to find a qualified small business IT firm in Richmond, Virginia, is going to search SAM.gov. What they find, your profile, is their first impression of your company. If your profile is sparse, generic, or missing key information, they will scroll past you to a vendor with a more compelling presentation. Let me walk through the 3 columns of the optimization checklist. The identity column covers the basics: legal name, EIN, addresses, and points of contact. Every field matters. Outdated contact information means a contracting officer who wants to give you a heads up about an upcoming opportunity cannot reach you. That is a missed opportunity. The classification column covers your NAICS codes, size standards, and business type. This is how agencies filter their vendor searches. If your classification is wrong or incomplete, you simply will not appear when you should. The capabilities column is where most companies underinvest. Your capability narrative, the 250-word description of your company, is your elevator pitch to every agency that searches for vendors. Write it with keywords that contracting officers actually use. Mention specific services, relevant certifications, and mission areas you serve. This is not a legal document. It is a marketing statement within a legal framework. Before this module is over, if you have an existing SAM, Gov registration, I want you to open it and check every item on this checklist. You will almost certainly find things to improve. The Module 2 worksheet has two components, and both are immediately actionable. The Registration Readiness Tracker in the top section is for those of you who have not yet registered or are in the middle of the process. Work through each line item, obtaining your EIN, registering on SAM. Gov for your UEI, completing entity validation, selecting NAICS codes, completing reps and certs, and entering your banking information. For each item, note its current status and the date you completed it or plan to complete it. Having this documented prevents you from missing steps. The NAICS code research worksheet in the bottom section is relevant for everyone, even those who are already registered. I want you to fill in every NAICS code that is relevant to your services. For each code, research and document the SBA size standard, confirm which set-aside programs you qualify for under that code, and mark which one is your primary code. If you are already registered, use this worksheet as a review exercise. Are all your codes listed? Are the size standards current? Are you certified for every set-aside program you are eligible for? A 15-minute review of this worksheet often surfaces opportunities that were being missed. Here is your homework before Module 3. Open SAM. Gov, review your profile against the optimization checklist from the previous slide, update anything that is outdated, and verify that all of your target NAICS as codes are listed. This is foundational work that pays dividends for every module that follows. Welcome to Module 3, Opportunity Search. You are now registered in SAM. Gov, your profile is optimized, and you know where in the acquisition lifecycle to engage. The natural next question is, where do you actually find the right opportunities to pursue? This is where many small businesses struggle. They either spend too much time browsing randomly and chasing everything, or they set up a few alerts and then passively wait for the right opportunity to land in their inbox. Neither approach is strategic. In this module, we are going to build a systematic, repeatable opportunities search framework, one you can run every single week in about 2 to 3 hours. By the end of this module, you will know the key sources of federal opportunities beyond SAM. Gov, how to build a structured search framework that filters out noise, how to evaluate and score opportunities quickly and consistently, and how to research historical awards to inform your pursuit strategy. The goal is not to find every opportunity. It is to find the right opportunities, evaluate them quickly, and focus your limited time and resources on the ones you can realistically win. Most contractors know about SAM, Gov, but many do not realize that there is a broader ecosystem of opportunity sources available to them. Let me walk through each one. SAM, Gov is your primary source and the one you should monitor daily. All federal solicitations above $25,000 must be posted here. Set up email alerts. They are free and automated. Filter by NAICS code, agency, and set A-side type to keep the volume manageable. GSA eBoy is specifically for companies who hold a GSA multiple award schedule contract. If you have a schedule, eBuy is a goldmine. Agencies post requirements directly to schedule holders, and the competition is limited to those on the same schedule. Getting a GSA schedule is a medium-term goal worth pursuing once you have some federal past performance. SBA Subnet is where prime contractors post subcontracting opportunities. If you are not yet ready to compete as a prime contractor, subcontracting is the best entry point. You gain federal past performance, you learn how the government customer operates, and you build relationships that can lead to teaming on future prime bids. Never underestimate the subcontracting channel. U.S. spending. Gov is a research and intelligence tool. You can search historical awards by agency, NAICS code, PSC code, and contractor. This tells you who has been winning contracts in your target area, what they have been paid, and when their contracts are up for recompete. This research is gold for your capture strategy. Agency forecast sites are often overlooked. Many agencies publish procurement forecast documents, lists of anticipated acquisitions in the coming fiscal year. These give you a 6 to 12-month runway to begin pre-solicitation engagement before opportunities are even posted. GovWin, Bloomberg Government, and Deltek are paid intelligence platforms that provide deeper data and longer lead times. They are worth the investment once you are pursuing contracts in the $1 million and above range. Let me be very direct about how most small businesses search for opportunities. They browse SAM. Gov sporadically open whatever catches their eye and then wonder why they are not finding good fits. That is not a strategy. It is lottery ticket thinking. The four-step weekly search system shown on this slide is the operational discipline that separates systematic contractors from reactive ones. Step 1 is defining and locking your search parameters. This is a one-time setup that you review quarterly. Identify your primary NAICS codes, no more than 5 to start. Select 3 to 5 target agencies based on your capabilities and mission alignment. Set a contract value range that matches your company's size and bandwidth, and define which set-aside types you want to filter for. This focused setup means your daily alerts are targeted, not overwhelming. Step 2 is running and reviewing your daily SAM.gov alerts. This should take about 15 minutes per morning. You are not evaluating opportunities in depth here. You are flagging ones that warrant a second look. Use a simple color coding system. Green means review further, yellow means monitor, red means not relevant. Step 3 is deeper research on flagged opportunities. For each opportunity you flag, spend 30 to 45 minutes doing real research. Who is the incumbent? Pull their past contracts on FPDS and USA Spending.gov. What are the agency's recent awards in this area? What is the typical pricing? Is there an industry day scheduled? Step 4 is applying your bid/no bid scorecard, which we will cover in Module 5, and making a documented go or no-go decision. This weekly decision meeting, even if it is just you alone, creates the discipline of strategic pursuit management. On the right side of the slide, I have listed the key fields to examine in any SAM.gov listing. Spend time on each field. They all contain information that affects your pursuit decision. The Opportunity Quick Score Matrix on this slide is one of the most practical tools in this entire course. Print this slide, laminate it, use it every week. The purpose of this matrix is to create an objective, consistent way to evaluate whether an opportunity is worth pursuing before you invest significant time in proposal development. Most companies make pursuit decisions on gut feel, which leads to wasted resources on long-shot bids and missed opportunities on high-probability ones. Let me walk through the 7 factors. Capability match is the most fundamental. Can you actually do this work? Be honest. Having done something similar does not mean you are fully capable. The government evaluates whether your past performance is relevant to the current requirement. Set-aside fit is a binary advantage. If you are certified for the set-aside type and most of your competitors are not, your win probability jumps dramatically. Past performance is the factor that trips up the most new contractors. If you have 0 directly relevant past performance, be realistic about your score here. Incumbent position is often the most predictive factor of all. A satisfied incumbent with a strong CPARS record is very hard to displace. But an underperforming incumbent or a contract with no incumbent is an opportunity. Know the difference. Proposal timeline is practical. Can you write a quality proposal before the deadline? A 2-week turnaround for a complex technical volume is usually not realistic. Agency relationship reflects how well the agency knows you. Have you engaged them pre-solicitation? Have you attended their industry days? Do they know your name? Competition level is about how many capable competitors will pursue this. An SDVOSB set aside with 4 potential competitors is very different from a full and open competition with 50. Score 1 through 5 for each factor. Multiply by the weight. If your total falls below 60, seriously reconsider whether to bid. Let me walk you through a real-world example of how to evaluate an opportunity using the tools we have covered in this module. The opportunity shown here is a solicitation from DLA Aviation for IT help desk and network support services. Let me walk through what a structured evaluation looks like. The notice type is a solicitation, specifically an RFQ, which is a request for quote. This means DLA has already done their market research and is ready to receive proposals. The set aside is total small business under FAR 19.502-2, which means only small businesses can compete. The NAICS code is 541512 with a $34 million size standard. This is a common IT services code. The response deadline is 15 days. That is short. It means you should have been aware of this opportunity before it was posted, ideally through pre-solicitation engagement or a DLA sources sought response. The estimated value is $250,000 for a base year plus 4 option years. Over 5 years, that could be $1.25 million. For a smaller company, this is a meaningful contract that builds real past performance. The incumbent, confirmed through FPDS, is TechBridge Solutions. Their CPARS rating shows 3 stars, which means they have been performing adequately but not outstandingly. An adequate incumbent is replaceable. A 5-star incumbent is not. Looking at the analysis box, this scores 66 out of 80 on our opportunity scorecard. The total small business set aside is favorable. The company has NAICS 541512 capability. The incumbent is vulnerable. The only challenge is the tight 15-day timeline. The action items on the right are specific and time-sensitive. This is what immediately actionable pursuit management looks like. Do not just evaluate, decide, and act. The Module 3 worksheet is designed to move you immediately from learning to doing. The My Search parameter setup section at the top asks you to commit to your specific search parameters right now. Not someday, today. What are your primary NAICS codes? Which 3 to 5 agencies will you target? What contract value range aligns with your company's current capacity? Write these down. These parameters will drive your SAM.gov alert setup when you leave this session. The opportunity tracker in the bottom section is your weekly working tool. Every week as you review your SAM, Gov alerts log every opportunity you flag in this format: title, agency, NAICS, set aside, type, response date, your quick score from the evaluation matrix, and the action you are taking. This creates a documented pipeline that you can review and manage over time. Here is the exercise I want you to do today. Go to SAM.gov right now and search for opportunities under your primary NAICS code that are set aside for your eligibility type. Pick 3 that are open. Fill in the tracker for each one. Apply the quick score matrix. Decide, are any of them worth pursuing? If this feels overwhelming, remember, the goal of this system is to give you clarity, not to create more work. The tracker eliminates the anxiety of feeling like you might be missing something. If it is in the tracker and you have scored it, you have made a conscious decision about it. That is the discipline that separates strategic contractors from reactive ones. Welcome to Module 4, Sources Sought. If Module 3 was about finding opportunities that already exist, Module 4 is about shaping opportunities before they fully exist. Sources Sought notices are the most underutilized tool in government contracting, and they represent a profound competitive advantage for small businesses who know how to use them strategically. Here is the core insight of this module. Most contractors treat Sources Sought notices as early notifications, something to monitor so they know when a real RFP is coming. Sophisticated contractors treat them as positioning opportunities, a chance to influence the requirements, the set-aside determination, and the evaluation criteria of the eventual solicitation. Think about what that means. If you respond to a Sources Sought notice 6 months before an RFP is released, and your response introduces a methodology the agency had not considered, there is a real possibility that methodology will appear in the RFP. And when it does, you will already have a proposal ready to describe it. That is competitive advantage by design, not by luck. In this module, we will cover what Sources Sought notices are and why they matter, the timeline from Sources Sought to contract award, how to write a strategically positioned Sources Sought response, and how to follow up effectively after submission. Let us get started. A Sources Sought notice is a formal market research tool published by a federal agency on SAM.gov. Under FAR Part 10, agencies are legally required to conduct market research before issuing solicitations for most contracts. The Sources Sought notice is the most common mechanism for conducting that market research publicly. When an agency posts a Sources Sought, they are asking the market several key questions. Can qualified small businesses perform this requirement? Should this be designated as a set-aside for small businesses, or must it be full and open? What are industry standard approaches for delivering this type of service? And what is a realistic price range for this scope of work? Your response to a Sources Sought notice directly influences the agency's answers to all of these questions. If enough capable small businesses respond, the CO is required under the Rule of 2, FAR Part 19.502-2, to designate the procurement as a small business set-aside. That decision can eliminate the vast majority of your competition before the RFP is ever released. Let me clarify the distinction between a Sources Sought and an RFI. Both are market research tools, but a Sources Sought is more formal and has more direct legal implications for set-aside determinations. When you see Sources Sought on SAM.gov, treat it as high priority. Look at the timeline on the right side of this slide. Notice that Sources Sought typically occurs 9 to 12 months before the final RFP. That is your window. If you are only tracking formal solicitations, you are missing this entire pre-solicitation phase. And as we established in Module 1, this is where influence happens. The bottom line, respond to every source of sought that is relevant to your capabilities. It costs you a few hours and the potential upside is significant. Let me walk you through the anatomy of a winning sources sought response. Each of these 5 sections serves a specific strategic purpose, and together they create a document that positions your company favorably for the solicitation that follows. Section 1 is your company overview and qualifications. This section exists primarily for the contracting officer's administrative use. They need to verify your SAM.gov registration, confirm your NAICS code alignment, check your size status, and validate your set-aside eligibility. Keep this section factual and precise. State your set-aside qualifications in the first sentence. Make it easy for the CO to record that a qualifying small business has responded. Section 2 is your technical capability statement. This is your most strategic section. Agencies use the language and capability statements to refine their requirements. The key technique here is to use the exact language from the sources sought notice. If the notice says managed services delivery, use that phrase. If it says enterprise IT support, use that phrase. Mirror their terminology. This signals that you understand the requirement and makes it easier for the agency to incorporate your approach into the final RFP. Section 3 is past performance. List 3 to 5 contracts that demonstrate relevant capability. Include specific details: the agency name, contract number, performance period, dollar value, and a 1-sentence description of what you delivered. Even commercial contracts count. Even subcontracts count. Be specific and be honest. Section 4 is your proposed approach and differentiators. This is where you introduce ideas the agency may not have considered. What makes your approach more efficient, lower risk, or more mission-aligned? One innovative idea in this section can make your response stand out among dozens of generic submissions. Section 5 is questions and suggestions. Ask 2 or 3 strategic questions that reveal your expertise. Offer 1 or 2 modifications to the requirement that could improve the outcome. This signals partnership, not just vendor interest. The Module 4 worksheet is your sources sought response planner, and I want you to use it for a real opportunity, not a hypothetical one. Before you fill this in, go to SAM.gov and find a sources sought notice posted in the last 30 days that is relevant to your capabilities. There is almost always something. This is your working example. For each of the 5 response sections, think through 2 things: what specific content you will include and what your differentiator is. The differentiator column is the most important one. Anyone can write a generic capability statement. What makes yours different? Is it a specific technology stack, a patented methodology, a unique combination of certifications and experience? Get specific. The status column is your tracking mechanism. Mark each section as not started, in progress, or complete. A sources sought response is typically due in 7 to 30 days, so you need to move quickly. At the bottom of the worksheet, there is a follow-up plan prompt. This is critical and often overlooked. After you submit your response, what happens next? Identify a specific person at the agency to contact. Decide when you will reach out, typically 1 to 2 weeks after the SS response deadline. Think about what you will say, not a sales pitch, but a professional check-in that reinforces your interest and offers to answer questions. The companies that win consistently are not just the ones who submit the best responses. They are the ones who stay engaged and professional throughout the entire pre-solicitation process. That follow-up call or email is a small action that creates disproportionate impact. Welcome to Module 5 Tori, Capture Strategy. We have reached what many experienced GovCon professionals consider the most important module in any federal contracting training program. Capture strategy is the discipline of winning contracts before the formal competition begins. Think about what we have covered so far. You are registered and visible. You are searching systematically for opportunities. You are engaging pre-solicitation through sources sought. Now the question is, when you find a real opportunity you want to win, how do you manage the pursuit systematically to maximize your probability of winning? The answer is capture management. Capture management is the process of identifying a specific opportunity, assessing your position, gathering intelligence about the customer and competitors, building relationships with key stakeholders, developing your solution, and preparing your organization to submit a winning proposal. It is not a single action. It is a multi-month campaign. In this module, we will cover the bid/no bid decision framework, the 5 phases of capture management, competitive intelligence gathering, and win theme development. Let me set one expectation before we begin. Capture management requires time and discipline. You will not be able to run serious capture efforts on 20 opportunities simultaneously. The purpose of the bid/no bid framework is to focus your capture resources on the 3 to 5 opportunities where you have the best chance of winning. Quality of pursuit beats quantity every time. The bid/no bid decision matrix is the first and most critical tool in your capture strategy toolkit. Before you invest a single hour of proposal development effort, you need to make a rational, objective assessment of whether the opportunity is worth pursuing. Let me be honest about what I see in the field. Most small businesses make bid decisions emotionally. The opportunity looks exciting, the revenue would be significant, or the deadline is close and there is no formal process to follow. So they bid, and then they wonder why their win rate is 10 or 15%. Strategic companies have win rates of 30 to 50% or higher, and one of the primary reasons is disciplined bid/no bid analysis. Look at the matrix on this slide. There are 7 evaluation factors, each with a weight that reflects its relative importance. Technical capability and past performance are each weighted at 20% because these are the 2 factors that most directly predict whether you can write a credible, competitive proposal. If you have never done this type of work or have no relevant past performance, your win probability is low regardless of how well you write. Customer relationship is weighted at 15%. If the agency has never heard of you, they will evaluate you as an unknown. Evaluators favor familiarity, not illegally, but psychologically. A company they have met, engaged with, and heard positive things about enters the evaluation with an intangible advantage. Competitive position is also 15%. Who are your likely competitors? Can you differentiate yourself from them on capability, approach, or price? If 3 large contractors with deep agency relationships are pursuing the same opportunity, your path to victory is very narrow. Score each factor honestly. Multiply by the weight. If your total score is below 65%, seriously reconsider. Bidding on opportunities you are unlikely to win wastes proposal resources that could be used on opportunities you can win. The capture management process flowchart on this slide maps the 5 phases of a professional capture campaign. Let me walk you through each phase and what it means in practice. Phase 1, opportunity qualification, happens 12 or more months before the RFP drops. This is where you run your bid/no bid matrix and make the initial go/no go decision. If you decide to pursue, you assign a capture manager, the person responsible for owning this pursuit end to end, and set a pursuit budget. Yes, capture has a budget. The resources you invest in pre-ref capture are an investment in your win probability. Phase 2, intelligence gathering, runs from 9 to 12 months pre-RFP. This is where you research the agency's mission, budget, and recent acquisitions. You identify likely competitors and pull their CPARS ratings and past performance records from U.S. spending, Gov and CPARS. Gov. You look for any incumbent contractor vulnerabilities. Phase 3, customer engagement, is the relationship building phase. Request a capability briefing from the program manager's office. Respond to any sources sought notices. Attend the agency's industry days and small business outreach events. Make sure the right people at the agency know who you are and what you can do. Phase 4, solution development, begins 3 to 6 months before the RFP. Identify teaming partners if the scope is beyond your standalone capacity. Draft your technical approach. Develop win themes, the 3 to 5 core messages that will run through every volume of your proposal. Conduct a price-to-win analysis. Phase 5, proposal readiness, is the preparation phase in the final 3 months before the RFP. Assemble your proposal team. Build your past performance library. Review any draft RFP releases. By the time the RFP officially drops, you should be so prepared that your proposal practically writes itself. Win themes are the competitive heart of your proposal. They are not section headings or summaries. They are the 3 to 5 core messages that run through every volume of your proposal and answer a single question. Why should the agency choose your company over everyone else? Look at the anatomy of a strong win theme on the left side of this slide. Every effective win theme has 3 components. First, your strength, what you uniquely bring to this requirement. Second, the agency benefit, what the agency gains as a direct result of your strength. And third, the proof point, the specific verifiable evidence that makes your claim credible. The example win theme at the bottom of the left panel is illustrative of what strong looks like. Our 99.8% help desk uptime across 4 DoD contracts means DLA will experience 0 mission-critical outages during the transition, eliminating the #1 risk identified in your market research. Notice the three components. The uptime statistic is the strength, zero outages is the agency benefit, and the 4 DOD contracts are the proof point. Weak win themes sound like we are experienced, we are committed to excellence, or we have a proven track record. These are claims without evidence and benefits without specificity. Every vendor says these things. They score poorly with evaluators because they are unverifiable and indistinct. On the right side of the slide is the competitive intelligence matrix. Fill this in before you start writing your proposal. Where are you strong relative to your likely competitors? Where are you weak? Your win themes should amplify your genuine strengths and address your weaknesses proactively, not ignore them. Module 5's worksheet asks you to do the most important strategic exercise in this entire course. Apply the capture framework to a real opportunity you are considering right now. The bid/no bid quick assessment at the top requires you to name a specific opportunity, not a hypothetical, a real contract you are aware of and have considered pursuing. Then work through the 5 factors shown: technical capability, past performance match, set-aside eligibility, customer relationship, and competitive position. Score each one honestly. If you score below 65%, that does not mean you should never pursue this type of opportunity. It means you need to invest in building your position first. What specific actions would raise your score from, say, 48 to 65 over the next 6 months? That is your capture plan. The win theme draft box asks you to write your number 1 win theme for this opportunity. Use the formula, your strength plus agency benefit plus proof point. Write it in 1 sentence. This exercise is harder than it sounds, and that is the point. If you cannot articulate a compelling win theme in 1 sentence, you do not yet know what makes you the best choice for this contract. The capture action box asks you to commit to 1 specific action you will take this week. Not this month, not this quarter, this week. Call the agency's small business office. Schedule a capability briefing. Submit a sources sought response. Reach out to a teaming partner. Specific and immediate. Capture management is a discipline, not an event. The companies that win consistently are the ones that do a little bit every week for months before the RFP drops. Welcome to Module 6, Proposal Basics. You have done the pre-work. You have built your pipeline. You have engaged pre-solicitation. You have run your capture campaign. And now the RFP has dropped. It is time to write the proposal. Before I go further, I want to set a realistic expectation. Writing a competitive proposal for a federal contract is not easy. It requires clear technical writing, disciplined compliance with submission requirements, and the ability to write from the evaluator's perspective rather than your own. Most companies do the first 2 reasonably well. The third, writing for the evaluator, is where proposals are won and lost. The good news is that federal proposals are highly structured. The government tells you exactly what they want in their solicitation. Sections L and M, which we will cover in a moment, literally hand you the scoring criteria and the formatting requirements. Your job is to respond to those criteria systematically, compellingly, and compliantly. In this module, we will cover how to decode sections L and M, the standard structure for a competitive proposal, volume-by-volume content guidance, and the most common proposal mistakes and how to avoid them. One final mindset note: proposal writing is a skill that improves with practice. Your first proposal will not be your best. But if you apply the frameworks in this module consistently, each proposal will be better than the last. I want you to read this slide's tagline carefully. Before writing a single word of your proposal, read sections L and M 3 times. This is not an exaggeration. I have reviewed hundreds of proposals that failed, not because they lacked capability, but because the authors did not follow the instructions in section L or did not align to the evaluation criteria in section M. Section L is the instruction manual for your proposal submission. It tells you everything about the mechanics, how many volumes you must submit, what each volume must contain, page limits, font requirements, margin requirements, file format requirements, and the submission deadline. Violating any of these requirements can result in your proposal being declared non-compliant and rejected without evaluation. I have seen this happen to well-qualified companies because someone submitted a PDF when the RFP required Word documents. Section M is the evaluator scorecard. It tells you the factors that will be evaluated, how they will be weighted relative to each other, and the rating scale that will be used. When Section M says technical approach is most important and price is less important, it is telling you to invest your best writing in your technical volume, not in a perfectly formatted price spreadsheet. The table in the right panel shows a typical evaluation factor structure. Technical approach and past performance are almost always the 2 most important factors in service contracts. Management approach and key personnel come next. Price is typically evaluated for reasonableness and completeness rather than as the primary differentiator. Here is my golden rule for every proposal you ever write. Every sentence in your technical volume should address a specific Section M criterion. If it does not, cut it. Evaluators have limited time. They are looking for specific answers to specific criteria. Make their job easy. Let me walk you through the standard multi-volume proposal structure that most federal procurements require. Understanding this architecture before you sit down to write saves enormous time and prevents structural mistakes. Volume 1, the technical approach volume, is your most important document. This is where you demonstrate that you understand the agency's problem and that your approach to solving it is credible, specific, and lower risk than your competitors' approaches. The 4 key elements are your technical understanding of the requirement, which proves you've actually read and analyzed the PWS, your proposed approach and methodology, the how, not just the what, your technical risks and how you will mitigate them, and any innovations or value-added elements that differentiate you. Volume 2, past performance, is where you prove you have done similar work before. List 3 to 5 contracts that are directly relevant, same scope, similar complexity, comparable contract value. Include customer references who can be contacted. Write a relevancy narrative for each reference that explicitly connects the past contract to the current requirement. Do not assume evaluators will make the connection themselves. Volume 3, management approach, covers how you will organize, staff, and manage the contract. Include an org chart with real names attached to key roles. Generic org charts with position titles but no named personnel are evaluated poorly. Your staffing plan should show that you have the bench strength to staff up or surge if needed. Volume 4, price or cost, must be accurate, complete, and realistic. Underbidding to win and then asking for contract modifications is a red flag that experienced contracting officers recognize immediately. Price to win, which we cover in Capture Strategy, is about pricing competitively and realistically, not about pricing as low as possible. Remember the compliance note at the bottom of the slide, compliance before quality. A beautifully written proposal that violates a page limit or omits a required section will be rejected. In my years of working with small businesses on federal proposals, I have seen the same mistakes appear over and over again. These are not complex problems. They are predictable patterns that can be eliminated with the right habits and awareness. Mistake 1, talking about yourself instead of the agency. This is the most common and most damaging mistake. Federal evaluators are busy professionals who want to know one thing: what will this contractor do for MY mission? The moment your proposal shifts from here is how you benefit to here is how great we are, you lose the evaluator's attention. Mistake 2, generic past performance. We have successfully completed numerous government IT contracts is a meaningless statement. Give them the contract number, the agency, the dollar value, the performance period, the scope, and most importantly, the metric that proves you succeeded. Specificity is credibility. Mistake 3, ignoring Section M. This mistake is inexcusable given how clearly the government communicates its evaluation criteria. Create a compliance matrix before you write a single word. Map each evaluation factor to specific pages and sections of your proposal. When you finish writing, verify that every factor is addressed. Mistake 4, vague technical approach. We will provide a qualified team to meet all requirements is not a technical approach. It is a sentence that wastes evaluator time. Describe exactly how you will do the work. What tools, what processes, what quality controls, what milestones. Specificity signals capability. Mistake 5, missing the executive summary opportunity. Most evaluators read the executive summary first. It sets the frame for everything else. Use it to state your win themes and your top 3 reasons why you are the best value. Do not save your best arguments for the back of the volume. Mistake 6, last-minute submission. Technical failures at 11:59 p.m. are real. Submit 24 to 48 hours early, confirm receipt, and sleep well the night before the deadline. The Module 6 worksheet has 2 critical components: a Section M compliance matrix and a pre-submission checklist. Both are immediately applicable to any active proposal you are working on. The Section M compliance matrix is your proposal architecture tool. Before you begin writing, fill in every evaluation criterion from Section M of your target RFP. For each criterion, identify which volume and which specific section will address it. Then identify the win theme you will use in that section and the specific proof point that will substantiate your claim. This matrix does 2 things. First, it ensures no criterion is inadvertently omitted from your proposal, a compliance failure that can cost you points. Second, it forces you to think through your entire proposal argument before you write a single word. Many proposals are poorly organized because authors write sequentially without a map. This matrix is your map. The win themes section asks you to write your 3 core win themes for the proposal. Remember the formula: strength plus agency benefit plus proof point in 1 sentence each. If you have been following the capture strategy for Module 5, you should already have a draft of these from your capture plan. The pre-submission checklist at the bottom right is your final quality gate. Work through it systematically before you click submit. Section L, compliance. Are all page limits met? Section M, matrix. Is every factor addressed? Past performance references. Have you called each reference to give them a heads up that they may be contacted? Price math. Have you checked every formula and calculation twice? Executive summary. Has a non-technical person read it and found it compelling? This checklist takes 30 minutes. It can save you from a catastrophic submission error. Welcome to Module 7, Scaling and Systems. Congratulations, you now have the foundational knowledge to register, search, position, and propose in the federal marketplace. But knowledge alone does not win contracts. Execution does, and sustainable execution requires systems. This final module is about building the operating infrastructure that allows you to pursue federal contracts consistently, efficiently, and profitably over time. The biggest difference between companies that win occasionally and companies that win consistently is not talent or even strategy. It is the discipline of a repeatable operating system. Think of it this way: you cannot win federal contracts as a part-time when-I-get-to-it activity. The federal market rewards preparation, persistence, and presence. You need to be visible before opportunities arise, prepared when they do, and responsive when the government needs information or wants to make an award. In this module, we will cover the weekly GovCon, operating rhythm, pipeline management, and the metrics that matter, and how to build the right team structure for your revenue stage. Let me make one important promise. The systems in this module are not complicated. They do not require expensive software or large teams. They require discipline, consistency, and a commitment to treating GovCon as the strategic business discipline it is. The weekly operating calendar on this slide is the backbone of a sustainable GovCon business. Let me walk through each day's focus and explain why the structure matters. Monday is your strategic day. Start with a pipeline review, 30 minutes maximum. Look at every opportunity in your tracker, update statuses, evaluate new alerts from the weekend, and set your weekly priorities. This Monday rhythm creates the discipline of always knowing where you stand in your pipeline. Tuesday is your intelligence day. This is when you go deep on 1 or 2 priority opportunities. Pull FPDS data on your target agencies. Research what your competitors have been winning. Look at agency budget submissions and forecast documents. The intelligence you gather on Tuesdays will inform your capture strategy throughout the week. Wednesday is your engagement day. Write your sources, sought responses. Hold your team proposal work session if you have an active RFP. Make your outreach calls to agencies, small business officers, and program managers. Attend any virtual or in-person networking events. Wednesday is when you touch the market. Thursday is your production day. If you have an active proposal, your writing blocks go here. Update and maintain your past performance library. This is a living document that should always have your 3 to 5 best references ready to go. Reach out to potential teaming partners. Friday is your review and planning day. Review your weekly pipeline metrics. More on that in the next slide. Submit any responses due this week. Document lessons learned from any proposals submitted or lost. And most importantly, plan next week before you close your laptop on Friday afternoon. Starting Monday already planned is how you avoid the frantic reactive mode that kills small businesses. Total time, approximately 2 to 3 hours per day, 5 days per week. This is the investment required to build a serious GovCon business. Pipeline management is how you translate the abstract concept of pursuing federal contracts into concrete, measurable business activity. Without a pipeline, you do not have a business strategy, you have a hope strategy. The pipeline funnel on the left side of this slide illustrates the conversion ratios you should expect as opportunities move through your pursuit cycle. At the top of the funnel, you are aware of 50 or more opportunities through your SAM, Gov alerts, and other intelligence sources. Of those, perhaps 20 will score 60 or higher on your quick evaluation matrix and are worth a second look. Of those 20, about 8 will justify an active capture investment, meaning you assign a capture manager and begin pre-solicitation engagement. Of those 8, perhaps 4 will reach the proposal submission stage in any given quarter. And of those 4 submitted proposals, you should expect to win 1 to 2 if your capture strategy has been well executed. What does this mean practically? If you want to win 2 contracts per year, you need a pipeline of 50 or more active awareness opportunities at any given time. If your pipeline is smaller than that, your business development activity needs to increase. The healthy pipeline rule at the bottom of the funnel is a simple benchmark. Your active pursuit pipeline value should be approximately 10 times your annual revenue target. If you want $1 million in federal revenue, you should have $10 million in qualified opportunities in your pipeline. This ratio accounts for your realistic win rate. The KPI table on the right gives you the metrics to track every week. Review these numbers every Monday morning. If your win rate is dropping, go back to your bid/no bid process. You may be bidding on too many long shot opportunities. If your pipeline value is too low, increase your opportunity identification activity. One of the most common questions I get from small business owners is, when do I hire my first business development person? My answer is almost always the same. Hire for your current bottleneck, not your future aspiration. The 3 team models on this slide correspond to revenue stages that most GovCon businesses move through. At the $0 to $500,000 stage, the founder is doing most of the work. This is not unsustainable. It is appropriate for this stage. Your priority is winning your first few contracts and building your past performance record. Use subcontractors for delivery so you can stay focused on business development. Outsource proposal writing for larger opportunities where the investment is justified. The tools you need at this stage are mostly free. SAM.gov suspending, Gov, and basic collaboration tools. At the $500,000 to $2 million stage, you can no longer run a growing GovCon business alone. You need a part-time capture manager or a proposal writer, someone who can own the pursuit process while you manage client relationships and delivery. You also need a contracts administrator to manage the compliance and documentation burden that comes with having multiple active contracts. At the $2 million to $10 million stage, you need a dedicated business development manager who owns the pipeline and manages customer relationships. You need a full-time proposal manager who is the internal expert on proposal strategy and writing. And you need program managers for each active contract, people who own performance, client relationships, and recompete positioning. At every stage, your technology tools should evolve with your business. The free tools that serve you at stage 1 will become bottlenecks at stage 3. Budget for the right tools as your revenue grows. The Module 7 worksheet is your personal operating plan, and it is the most important document you will leave this course with. The weekly operating schedule at the top asks you to block out specific time on each day of the week for GovCon activities. Be specific and realistic. If you have other business commitments on Tuesdays, do not plan your deep intelligence research for Tuesdays. The goal is to create a schedule you will actually follow, not an aspirational one you will ignore. The 90-day goals section on the bottom left asks you to commit to 4 specific goals. Your revenue goal for the next 90 days, the number of proposals you will submit, the number of sources sought responses you will submit, the number of new agency relationships you will build, and your first contract win target. Write these down. Put them on your wall. Review them every Monday morning. The team and resource plan on the bottom right asks you to think practically about what you need to execute your GovCon strategy. For each role, proposal writer, contracts administrator, business development manager, and teaming partners, decide whether you will hire, partner, or outsource and set a timeline. Let me close with this. You now have the knowledge. What you do with it is entirely up to you. The federal marketplace is enormous, it is accessible to small businesses, and it rewards preparation and persistence. The companies that win are not necessarily the biggest or the best. They are the most strategic, the most disciplined, and the most persistent. Neighbor Consulting is here to support you every step of the way. Our website is neighborconsulting.com. Let us help you win your first contract, your next contract, and every contract after that. You have just completed the Neighbor Consulting GovCon training program. Let me take a moment to acknowledge how much ground we have covered and to send you off with a clear, actionable plan. We started in Module 1 by building your understanding of the federal marketplace, the structure, the stakeholders, the life cycle, and the regulations that govern everything. In Module 2, we built your official identity in SAM. Gov and position your profile for maximum visibility. In Module 3, we gave you a systematic framework for finding and evaluating the right opportunities. In Module 4, we taught you how to use sources sought to influence requirements before they are formalized. In Module 5, we built your capture strategy, the discipline of winning before the competition begins. In Module 6, we taught you to write proposals that score well with evaluators. And in Module 7, we built the operating system that makes all of this sustainable. Look at the action plan on the left side of this slide. These are your milestones. This week, register in SAM. Gov, select your NAIS codes, and set up your daily opportunity alerts. These 3 actions take less than a day and immediately increase your visibility in the federal marketplace. Month 1. Respond to 2 sources sought notices and build your capability statement. These are your first real touches on the market. Months 2 and 3. Submit your first proposal, attend an agency industry day, and contact prime contractors for teaming opportunities. Months 4 through 6. Build a 10 opportunity qualified pipeline. Establish your weekly operating rhythm, and begin active pursuit of your first award. The journey from here to your first federal contract award is not as long as it seems from where you are standing right now. Thousands of small businesses make this journey every year. With the right strategy, the right tools, and the right support, yours can be one of them. On behalf of the entire team at Nibor Consulting, thank you for your time and your commitment to this program. We are rooting for your success. Go win some contracts.